Welcome to Spark Your Joy, Encounters with Spirituality and Creativity, a monthly podcast in which I, Eva Bojashka, will be interviewing international artists, filmmakers, musicians, sound healers, yoga teachers, wisdom teachers, creatives, about their life journeys and exploration of spirituality, creativity, and everything in between. Welcome, everyone. I'm very excited to present to you today's special guest, Lichun Tseng, who is here to talk about spirituality and creativity. Um, I will just present Lichun shortly, and then I'll ask her to present herself a little bit more. Lichun is an artist based in the Netherlands, and apart from an artist, she's also a yin yoga teacher, a sound healer, a Thai yoga masseur, and well, maybe she can help me because it seems that there are a lot of things, wide a range of professional interest that somehow come together. So today we will talk about it. Um, yeah, welcome and welcome, Litun. Maybe we can already start with telling us a little bit about yourself, where you, well, whatever you feel like sharing.
Hello, my name is Lichun, original from Taiwan, and have been living in the Netherlands for many years. And I have, being an artist and a filmmaker has been a major role through my whole life so far. And since a few years, somehow the spiritual practice has become part of my daily life, and then so besides the creativity, well-being also become part of my practice that I share with others. So including, like you say, yoga class, um, sound therapy, and then Thai yoga massage. Yeah, yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about your art, artistic practice, and maybe a little bit about also the massages and the sound therapy? Because I read on your website you have two websites, one for the artistic practice, and then the other for the spiritual practice. And sound therapy was very interesting, something very interesting for me. I haven't heard before, so maybe you can share.
So maybe I start with the art practice part. Long time ago, I had a different kind of art practice. Can be with painting or can be with all kind of material. But then since, let's say, 10, 12 years, I've been more focused on moving images and installation and audiovisual performance. So especially past 10 years, I've been using analog film making as my main medium. And there's something very special about this media. It is a light sensitive, it is a time based. And I think my art practice time and space and this journey in between has become something very important to me. And while creating this space in the journey, it's often feel like a meditative journey. And and then maybe those years I kind of using film or like installation, for example, is more space related as like immersive experience, meditative space. And only till the last few years, my own practice has set up more solid. Then I feel it also allow me to connect more with something internally and then externally. and that also bring my art practice deeper. And yeah, then I'm curious how I combine them, and then just everything comes more naturally. Yeah. So I actually, with the well-being part, I start with the Thai yoga massage first. It comes out of blue almost. I think it started like it was a few years ago. It started, I was traveling, and then I was in a community. We were just massaging each other after a whole day of work. And then I noticed I was very sensitive with the touching, and people often really happy with my sensitivity. And then when I came back to the Netherlands, I was looking for another part-time job to support my life. So then I thought, oh, maybe I can work in a massage place. But then, long story cut short, uh, I decide to eventually goes on my own way. So then I learned Thai yoga massage because I feel it's more holistic for me, and everything is connected, and then also has a different kind of balance between the one who give and the one who receive. So it's almost like a circle. But at that time, I wasn't. I was more thinking of giving, but I wasn't thinking of the balancing. I was only thinking that I can give, and everybody's very happy, but I wasn't thinking I need anything. So then, only until 2, 3 years ago, I have some personal life change. Then I start to have more solid yoga practice, and eventually I took in yoga teacher training, and it was really like a life transformation. And then I feel like a different balance has become more balanced and connected. And then now with the sound journey, which we call sound therapy, it's like it's it's like we are facilitating the situation through the sounds, and then support the person going through their own journey with the sound. Yeah, so it has been really inspiring, and then I really like the idea of a vibration. Vibration, it feels like something each person can start, and you just share, and then so that's the feeling I have with my artwork, and also with the practice I'm sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, and your response, there were a couple of questions I already wanted to ask you, and I think that you kind of partially responded to. But one of them I kind of want to maybe focus because I find it interesting. Generally, with people who have really spiritual practice, I find it interesting how did they get to land on such a path, on a spiritual path. If you feel like sharing exactly how this happened to you, um, and it is a personal story, so feel free to also not share if it's not and then that is one thing, and then I will ask you a little bit more about what, well, maybe then after you could say what does it mean to you to be spiritual.
So if I understood correct, I first share how my spiritual journey started. Okay. That's a um, I think let's say my connection with the nature, it kind of started quite late, more like like maybe between 19.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. But I just remembered that a couple of days ago when we saw each other, you said that you've never, you could never imagine that you will be a yoga teacher now. So it was like yoga, no.
Well, yeah, actually, no. Yoga was always a yes, but spiritual was something I feel a little bit resistant. Yeah, I think I kind of feel I'm a little spiritual, but a lot of people are too spiritual for me that I was a bit allergic to. but that has been changed since couple years. I feel I'm more allowing and more accepting and then respecting, and then also I'm also part of it. So I kind of yeah. So I guess that's always coming from like some idea you have in your mind, but then actually it's all about experience. So all those title or name you're giving to actually doesn't really make much sense. Yeah. So back to yeah, I was saying I feel my connection with the nature started quite late, and then only let's say around 20s, and then that's also the time that I was via a friend I get to know about Buddhism. I start to read a lot of sutra around that time, and I remember my feeling at that time was every time when I open a chapter, it was always completely responding to how I was experiencing my life at that moment. It was just a light. But then I have to say, I didn't have my own practice. I was just reading. I know that concept. So that has been like that for many years. And then I feel those concepts of the way of living that I was trying to practice, it was more stay mentally. And then only till, let's say, 2016, 17, I had like a very dark period of my life, and then I went to a depression, and then eventually, I think I recognized a lot of pattern of myself, and then that kind of helped me to kind of reset a bit my life, and then I think also about around that time, I start to like maybe I started to practice a bit more. I think I even started because I was a poor artist. I couldn't go to any class. I just couldn't afford. So I actually start my yoga practice online with a YouTube teacher, really. And which in the beginning I had that resistance as well. Like my friend said, why don't you do something on YouTube? I was like, how can you practice yoga online? And I was like really critical about it. But I did try, and then that's how I started. It does really help me to set up my own routine, and eventually become my ritual. So I think I started like that, practice with unknown teacher on YouTube, and then for quite some time, and then I think I even just had a very start to build up my own morning ritual. So I just I think I start with just yoga, and then I had some meditation experience before, then I add meditation, and then I came across to a book called The Artist's Way. Then I started to add morning pages, and that all happened the last 2, 3 years. And then eventually I did go to the yoga studio to practice sometimes. But I think online practice still has been quite a major part. It's like it helps me to have my own rhythm. Yeah, so that's how my spiritual practice begin like that.
And then what does it mean for you to be spiritual? I mean, just with a couple of words.
I think sometimes I still notice I have a little bit resistance to these words, but I think uh, I did after all the training I have so far. I do feel for me being spiritual at this moment, how I am, it does feel like more connecting to myself, or more able to notice and being aware of myself physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, and then recognize and then see how I process it. So I think being spiritual in some way it make me being more aware, and that's why I will be I will be able to connect, and then eventually then I will have more creating a space for myself. Yeah.
And that brings me to the next question. Let's go back a little bit to creativity. Maybe you could tell me if a spiritual practice, because that is something, yeah, I've heard and also experienced myself, helps creativity. And then also, what does it mean to you to be creative? And well, then how these two, how these two meet, and for you, right? Because you have daily. Yeah, so yeah, where is this point of encounter or even overlap, or yeah, how do you see it?
And yeah, I if I have like a quick answer towards this question would be, I think my way of creating art or like my art practice, it has been quite, at least the past 10 years, it somehow become it somehow is more like a organic and natural. Um, but I do notice the past few years, uh, it's a lot of that it happened naturally, but also a lot of process being more aware and recognizing. So it's really not about the concept, yeah, and then more about feeling connecting. So let's say, make an example of my major practice, filmmaking, which people often categorized is more like experimental film. But I would say you can just say it's more like a visual artistic film, so almost like a visual poetry. But then how I work is normally I just have all the gear with me, and I go to the, for example, a forest or somewhere nature area. Usually I work alone because I need to have that connection with the surrounding and almost like a connection between something in me and something outside of me. And then I kind of like experience and being aware, being open and being receptive. And then I will sense the moment and or sense the situation. This is the moment I want to turn on the camera. And that's the moment I film. So often the way of filming is almost like another form of meditation. And then also I'm working with this media, which is analog film. It can be quite unpredictable because you had to process in a dark room, so means that you don't have a fully control of this material. Even you are very experienced, still sometimes something can go wrong. And I feel like I'm really embrace all the possibilities, and and yeah, just really see what happened. So I think that's kind of connected to my spiritual practice, and then that reflect to my creative practice.
Yeah, basically what you say, that your spiritual practice helps in that way that you are open and yeah, open to receiving whatever universe manifests at the moment. Okay, and then yeah, um, and then I mean, you said also I've seen one of your films live in the Eye Museum, Film Museum here in Amsterdam. Um, and definitely it felt like a meditation, and I had this experience of drifting away sometimes, like in meditation your thoughts go away, but then you come back and then you visualize, and like visualization. So it was very interesting experience, and also calming, but not entirely, I must say. That is my personal experience, of course. Everybody is different. um, yeah, it was not quiet. It was like a um, and um, and yeah. But what I wanted to say is that basically, um, from one side, I see that spiritual practice might help. Let's call it help everyday in everyday life for your creative practice, artistic practice, but also, as you said, you work with the concepts of time, of space, and these two are present in yoga or spiritual world, even though you don't like the word spiritual. uh, yeah, so basically there is this kind of mingling, I could say, or blurring the boundaries, right, between the two. That is, I don't know if for you it's like that, but for me, yeah, our creative energy is also our life force energy, right? Is it? Yeah. Do you wanna share something about that, or?
Mm, I I think I always feel spiritual practice often help creative process, or at least for me, I feel it gives some potential. And when you apply to my own situation, I feel also because the past few years I have a very regular morning ritual, and then I feel that way of starting my day really set myself in the right energy and the right mindset, and then almost like I'm charged myself in the morning to start to encounter the world, and then that gives me kind of prepare myself in the states, um, then I can really fully open and receptive to explore my creative practice. um, so in my own case, I feel spiritual practice helped me to be who I am, and to be who I am, and creativity maybe help me to explore who I can become. Maybe, yeah.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Yeah, to open up for everything that might be. Wow, amazing. I love it. I'm getting excited. um, Great. Well, then, in that sense, maybe we can go already like towards my last aspects I wanted to touch upon today, is basically, yeah, this of course comes from my thoughts about it, and um, how how do you think being spiritual and creative, um, how does that help, or how to say, influence, or what is the impact for the world? Or I don't know, maybe we can start from daily daily life, from a small everyday life to maybe the world indeed.
Mm, Short answer would be I think slowly I see myself as, I think probably everyone has different. You can look at a person in a different lens. You can look at this, you can check in with yourself, spiritual level, you can check in yourself with a mental level, emotional level, and physical level. And I think that's my practice is about. It's about these four levels of um, recognizing, being aware, and eventually explore the balance. And although those balance is never stay there forever, it's maybe that split second you feel a bit imbalance and then you fall out. But I slowly feel it's almost like a gentle wave. Like you, I think I'm tired of being like up and down, like in the storm. That's really took too much energy of myself, and I'm really enjoying now, like in a very gentle, subtle wave on the sea. Then you are kind of floating through, and then you are lying on the on the sea, and then you look at the sky, and then enjoy all kind of weather, and then you still kind of enjoying the this gentle subtle rhythm. And I think that's what I love. I forgot your question actually. Oh yeah, the impact between the
Impact of these two.
yeah. Yeah, so I would say I would just say personal practice. It doesn't need to be strictly only call it spiritual practice. For me, maybe I use that words, but I think for every individual, I feel it's kind of there should be a way that everyone has their own way to kind of creating the balance for themselves and then creating the space for themselves. Maybe in my case, I do it through meditation and yoga and then sound. Maybe some people need to have different kind of practice, which is all fine. And then I think creativity is the same thing. I think everyone has this part in them as well. And creative, it doesn't mean that you had to be an artist. And creative means like you can think things differently, or you can try things differently, or you can just explore. I think for me at this moment, I think creativity is just a way you explore without being afraid, without being follow any rules. You just like take the space to be free and to try and to fall.
I love it. Yeah, so that basically can help people on a personal level, and then further on we can spread the love. I think that was a very good, actually, very good ending. Let's explore, be happy and free. And yeah, thank you, Lichun, for being here today. That was a very nice, lovely conversation, and also I hope inspiring. And also I hope that we kind of provoked or stimulated some kind of thought about spirituality and creativity. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you.